Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are on to episode 19 of season 3, which is Hell Money. Brian, you had a lot to say about this episode at the end of our last recording. And tell me a little bit about the legacy of Hell Money.
Well, it is one of those episodes that, for me, doesn't really tend to come up in a lot of conversations about, greatest or whatever. I've always believed it to be one of the poorer episodes. In fact, I think I may have said last episode
Possibly.
that I think it was the worst episode of season 3, which was a mistake. And we'll get into that. Let's just say my expectations going into this, having not seen it in quite some time, were very, very low. Like I said, I built it. When I was telling you about it, I was saying this is the hurdle we need to get over to get to Jose Chung. I really thought this was going to be the worst. Wasn't looking forward to it, and I got to say, as with Teso dos Bichos, which surprised us both last time, given the fact that it was the least ranked episode on IMDb ever, which was just baffling to me. And I thought how that can be lower, that much lower than Hell Money was beyond me. But I gotta say, coming back, watching this again for the first time in a long time, I was wrong. I don't think this is anywhere near as bad as I thought it was. And I'm also wrong about who wrote it. So I gave this whole spiel, I think, last episode about the writer of Teso dos Bichos. I thought he was also the writer of this one, and that he always he tends to write episodes that are geared towards like
culture,
minority cultures and whatnot. So it turns out it's not him. It's John Scheiban is the writer in question, but no, it's actually Jeffrey Vlaming who wrote this one. So my apologies to those who tuned in last episode and caught that faux pas by my good self, who claims to be the big X-Files fan. But we all make mistakes. Like I say, it's been so long since I'd seen this one, but my memories of it were just that it was horrendous. And with that in mind, would you, Graham, like to hazard a guess as to where Hell Money sits in the IMDb pantheon of rankings?
Are we talking 217, aren't we? That's where we...
Yes, out of 217 episodes, which we know Teso dos Bichos was 217, where does Hell Money sit?
Okay, I've taken a complete guess. I think I'm going to go for 167.
167?
Yep.
You are wrong. It is 196.
196. Wow. So
Yes.
it's really in the bottom, like 20% then.
Yeah. It's definitely in the low end. It's definitely what most fans would consider to be
it's etching the bottom 10%, because if it's, what did you say, 190?
196. So it's
right. So it's the 21st worst episode.
Yeah, it's basically in the bottom 10%.
Yeah.
Just touching.
Wow.
So yeah, that like. Now, before watching this again, I would have probably agreed with that. I would have probably said, yeah, that sounds about right. Probably should be lower, to be honest. So if nothing else, if you're new to the show, if you're old to the show, if it's been a while since you've watched this episode, Hell Money, then stick around. I mean, I don't know what Graham's opinion on it is going to be, but I will say up front, I don't think this episode is anywhere near as bad as people make out. And I say that as one of those people who made it out to be that bad.
I can concur. Brian is one of those people. Shall we jump into this episode, Brian?
Yeah, let's jump into it. Okay, so we open up with an Asian dude who is running through Chinatown. It's a Chinatown celebration, and he goes to a door that's got fresh paint on it. He enters, and a man inside speaks to him, and he freaks out and stabs him before turning to see 3 masked men, of which you can see one of them just behind us, just behind my head there, peeping over.
Now, if I was to put myself in the man's shoes, as soon as I saw paint in the door, I would be gone in the opposite direction. Because that door's not locked either. It's open. Nothing is keeping me there whatsoever. But it is a kind of typical, almost, opening for the X-Files episodes. We've seen kind of things like this before. You're kind of wondering what it's about. It gives you an insight into the fact that it's probably not going to be a monster or something supernatural, because it's people perpetrating this one. But because of the way it's delving into the Asian culture, I was a little bit curious about where it would go.
Yeah, I think there is meant to be a supernatural element to this episode, and I would say it's that element that isn't handled particularly well.
I don't feel it at all.
No, well, I never did, and I think because I was strongly paying attention this time around, making notes and stuff. As I was looking at the way the scenes are built up, I think there is meant to be a question of a supernatural element. Are these masked men merely men, or are they? Do they genuinely have a supernatural element about them? I think that's what it's meant to be. But because of the handling of it, it never really feels like that. This just feels like a bunch of Asian gangsters.
In the next scene, you see them using a doorway, and there's not many like supernatural ghostly apparitions that use doors. Like I say, I think from a script point of view, from an intention of the writer maybe point of view, I think there is meant to be some question there about whether or not these guys are supernatural or not, and I just don't think it's handled very well. But we'll get into that a little bit later as to why I think that. But so lots of mystery to start off with. We go from there to a funeral home where there's a security guard sat in mourning. I say that because at first it's very hard to tell that this guy's a security guard, because the way he's sat, the way it's framed, it looks like he's just some dude at a funeral who's seriously mourning the loss of a loved one. And I'm like, oh no, okay, he's a security guard. It's quite confusingly shot, the setup for it. But he's gambling on his phone. He's playing blackjack, isn't he?
Oh yes.
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing of gambling to come.
There you go. Yeah. So he sees a light down the corridor, and hears a noise coming from the crematorium. And he goes in, and then he sees the 3 masked men. Then finds a man burning inside the furnace, which is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I love the idea of the man in the furnace. I'm not as keen with the security guard's lack of trying to stop it in any way, shape or form. Just there's banging and screaming coming from here, so I'm just going to lean in closely and look through the glass pane. But it's what's such a horrible way to go.
It freaks me out. There's so much going on there that freaks me out. 1, I'm claustrophobic. 2, I don't like being locked inside anything, especially something that's an enclosed space. Add to that the fact that there's flames that are now going to burn you alive. It's just, to be quite honest, opening that door and pulling the guy out at that point would actually, I don't know, I feel like there'd be less mercy in that. My main thing is that, and this is one of the things that leads into are these guys supernatural, or are they really just guys? They just kind of disappear. Now either the security guard just makes no attempt to go after them.
Yeah, we just walk through a door, because you see the door kind of swinging to the side of it as they went through. And I was just they've just left, they've run away.
It seems like there's only one way in or out of that place. It's just, I don't know. The whole thing just seems a bit like that. It's the worst security guard ever. Let's just say that much. It's
probably a typical security guard. I've met a few in my time, Brian, and they're just
on his watch, right? On his watch, 3 dudes have managed to drag another dude in through to the crematorium, which is just down the hallway from where he's sat playing blackjack, and get him in there and set him on fire without being discovered until the moment of Krispy Kreme. It's just like, dude seriously needs sacking. He should not be in a job by the end of that day, I can tell you that much.
I mean, technically he's in a place where bodies are burned.
Not at that time of night, I don't think. I think that was past opening hours. So, yeah, anyway. Mulder and Scully examine the scene, and there's a detective who says there have been 3 cases like this already, and Mulder says, nope, there's been 9. Has a detective Chow, I think his name is, interpret a Chinese word that the victim supposedly wrote in the furnace, which translates to ghosts, and finds hell money, a symbolic offering used to appease spirits during the Chinese festival of the Hungry Ghosts, which so begins one of my biggest issues with this episode, which is exposition, exposition, exposition. There is so much exposition going on in this episode that sometimes I lose track as to just what is going on.
I can almost forgive it because it's culturally different from Mulder and Scully, and they need to have it explained to them in certain points. I can almost forgive it because of that. I do like the fact that D.B. Wong is so prominent in this episode. It's nice to see a very young, slimmer version of him as well, which was surprising. But yeah, it's I never really considered the fact that it's all exposition because of the fact that it's culturally unusual for Mulder and Scully. They do need to have things explained. Yeah, it's probably just my interpretation of it, but yeah. I think DB Wong is really quite. He's very laid back whenever he's in something. You know, he's always kind of like, and you feel as if this character is almost like disinterested a lot of the time, or just like kind of saying all the bare minimum type of thing, which fits into the character, but it's just a certain aloofness to the performance that I really like.
Which one is DB Wong again?
He's the detective.
Is he?
Detective. Yeah, and he's the second guy in Doctor Strange, and he was in Focus. Okay, yes, all right. So but he's not the detective that we follow all the way through the episode. Yeah.
No way.
Yes. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking that up. Come on, you're having me on a butty. What's right? Let me check this out. So you're saying
he might not be in he might not be in Doctor Strange, like I said, but he's in a whole bunch of stuff. He was in Focus, and I'm sure.
See, I thought. Are you sure you're not getting confused? Because I thought.
Yeah, I am.
That the guy of which that is in reference to is the Chinese Cancer Man, the Chinese version of Cancer Man.
No, that's who's that?
Isn't he from?
That's James Hong. He's Lo Pan from.
Yeah, in Big Trouble in Little China. So hang on,
BB Wong. He was in Focus.
Let me. I've got.
He was in Jurassic Park. I'm trying to think what else he's been in.
Right. So we're talking about the young detective, yeah?
Yeah.
The one who stays with them all the way through this investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let me see. Yeah, B.D. Wong.
Yeah.
Is... Oh, hang on. Right. I think I recognise him from Gotham. I'm pretty sure.
I've not seen Gotham.
I'm pretty sure he plays. Yeah, he plays Doctor. That's where I'm at. So he plays Doctor Strange in Gotham,
Right.
which. And you're saying he's who in?
He's in Focus. Do you know Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie?
Yes, yeah. It's been a while since. I know he's in the Jurassic World
Well, do
movies.
you know how they do the
as
big
well.
gambling scene at the start? And it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
man they're trying to con the money out of, and he's laughing because he's so excited. And so, that's him. And he was one of the scientists in Jurassic Park, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah. He's Jurassic World. He's in the Jurassic World
Like,
films. He's
in Jurassic Park, like the original.
oh right, really? Okay, because he's in Jurassic World. Because he plays the main scientist in Jurassic World
Yeah, well, he was in the original as well.
as the same character.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway.
Oh man, I seriously need to rewatch them. This is getting ridiculous.
We're
Okay,
going down a complete sidetrack here.
we are, but it's just that's crazy. That is so crazy. Like, because I was watching him during this episode.
He's been in like lots. He's never been like huge, but he's always been in like lots of things.
Yeah. Well, I was watching this episode this time around, and I was watching that guy. And all the way through it, I was thinking, this guy's really good. He should have had a better career. I should have seen him in more stuff. Didn't occur to me once that he was the dude who played Hugo Strange in Gotham. Like, I'm a big Gotham fan, and he's a big part of Gotham. Like, Hugo Strange takes on a really big kind of. So wow, okay, no, that's. Well, that was a something of a sidetrack, but there you go, people. Just a little bit. So, okay, so he plays Chow. So he's the one who interprets this word that the supposedly the dead man scrolled on the roof of the furnace. That means ghosts. I can't believe that's him. That's shocking. How I couldn't recognise that when I was watching it. Isn't it amazing what age does to someone? Okay, so yeah, so he tells us like the festival of the hungry ghosts, which is like the hell money is used as a symbolic offering for that. So when you hear it at first, you're kind of a bit like, what? And you're hoping that's going to get explained a little bit more further down the line. So the victim, as it turns out, was a man named Johnny Lowe, who is a dishwasher in Chinatown. Mulder asks Chow what the paint on the door means. So if you remember, there was the paint on his door before he went into the house that you said you should run from. And Chow says he doesn't know.
Yeah.
They lift the freshly laid carpet and find blood after finding a dried frog used for protection and prosperity. So this is what I'm talking about. It's just like I don't have a problem with exposition so much in something like this for the very reason that you talk about, which is that we're in a foreign land kind of thing. You got it's like the whole Black Rain thing. You take a American detective, put him in the foreign land. He needs stuff explaining to him because he doesn't know the culture. But it's just like there's so many things being thrown at us at once that it's like it's hard to keep track of all of them, and the level of importance of all of them. It's like, oh look, there's a dried frog. Oh, there's a carpet with blood underneath, and it's just like. So I find and again, I think this time round, because I was taking notes, all of this stuff was going in. Whereas normally, if I'd have watched this, a lot of this stuff would have just flown by because my brain just can only fit so much in, and I'd just gone, no. I just like it would have dribbled out of my ear, and that was it. And then I'd leave as usual, feeling a bit confused as to what the hell had gone on. But yeah, so there's a lot of important elements. But dried frogs, there you go. Yep. So the dried frog apparently is used for protection and prosperity. But then Carpet Man, as I'm going to call him for the rest of this, he is a prominent character, but we will call him Carpet Man. It's the guy who fitted the carpet over the bloodstained floor. He's looking after his daughter, played by none other than Lucy Liu, of Charlie Angel's fame and other things. So, and Kill Bill, of course. So he say
a small performance. She could literally do it lying in her back if she wanted. Oh, wait, she does. She spends the time lying down.
Pretty much, yeah. So she says she has to go out to work and pay for her. He has to go out to work and pay for her operation. He goes to some dodgy underground lotto where someone else wins, but doesn't win. It's basically this looks like the worst lotto that one could ever possibly hope to take part in. So they all put these things in a tub. It gets shaken around. Their name gets drawn out of a hat. You've won! But what you've won is the chance to win again. So you're literally you're competing to win the opportunity to win. But once you've won that opportunity to win, you never win because it's rigged. Yep. And you just get a body part taken from you, which is quite disgusting. Any thoughts on?
Well, as I was watching this scene unfold, I instantly went body harvesting.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty
almost
much.
instantaneously. I knew. I don't know if it was a memory of watching this back in the day, but instantly I just went, okay, body harvesting. I love all the jade, the kind of performance around it, and what I noticed was that they've got like that the gold one they put in. Like if you pull that out, you're going to win the pot of money type of thing, and then obviously nobody ever gets it, type of thing. Yeah.
It's the thing that gets me is like, is it not enough to pull the thing out and if you get the winner, boom, you've won. But instead, actually, no. If you get that only leads you to the next step. Where it's like, man alive, that is not a lotto I would ever consider taking part in, because it's not just a lottery. It's like a double lottery. It's like having to put your numbers on the lottery, win them, and then before you get your £1 million, play again and get the number, have your numbers come up again.
And this one can cost you like an arm and a leg.
I know. It's just the most dumbfounded thing imaginable. Like, I love my kids. Don't get me wrong, but
you like 20/20 vision more.
I'm saying I will go out and rob a liquor store before I partake in that craziness. So yeah, so Mulder, Scully, and Chow go to a herbal shop to find out what is in the bag that they found at Lowe's apartment. Skullcap root, apparently, and Chinese angelica used for a painkiller. So the shop assistant says she knows Johnny Lowe, didn't know he was dead, but says the characters on his door meant he was haunted. Chow explains the Festival of the Hungry Ghosts as we see the lotto winner drinking something with shaky hands before his heart and remaining eye are taken. Says that some spirits won't be paid off by hell money. So again, this is literally just one sequence. I mean, it's two, but it's edited together. It's like everything's been kind of juxtaposed, and it all plays out as like one long sequence. But it's one long sequence in which a lot of information is being given. My question is, why the hell didn't Mulder and Scully ask for a bit more of an explanation as to what the Festival of Ghosts was before this point? Because it's only now we're getting told. They've already been told about it, but they never. We're only now learning about just exactly what it is. But that's a minor
probably
detail.
the reason they don't ask is because it's got nothing really to do with the plot.
You don't know that though, do you? If you're a detective, then you don't know. Like hell money has been found at the scene of the crime. Hell money is something that is used in the Festival of the Hungry Ghosts. Therefore, I would say that's a pretty big kind of.
So, like, if you're going to kill somebody brutally by throwing them into an incinerator, why would you give them hell money to appease the ghosts that they're going to meet? Like, you don't just want them damned. Like, it's weird.
Well, it's just. I mean, who gave the who did the hell money belong to? That's the question. Did it belong to the three masked men, or did it belong to the victim? And did it just fall out of his pocket, or did he throw it as he was getting pushed in, or like it's one of those clues that's kind of conveniently left there. That didn't go up in smoke. But
it's a good clue, filled with Chinese writing that leads him to Chinatown. It's there's a good one.
Yeah. Just like to me personally, if I was a detective, you got hell money. What is hell money? Oh, Festival of the Hungry Ghosts. Oh, really? Tell me about this festival, please. Okay. Beyond that, though, it is nicely handled. It is a sequence that is nicely handled. And I've got to say, I got to say as well at this point, something that I do really like about this episode, and that actually greatly improved it for me this time around, is B.D. Wong, and his character. I do really like his character in this. He's a man torn between two worlds, which obviously is the culture he was born into and the culture within which he has to exist, which is the Western culture. And you see that within him all the time, kind of as he wrestles with that.
He gives a speech on it at one point as well.
Yeah, which is a really good one, and I do like that scene. So, so a security man at a graveyard sees the three masked men messing about near a freshly dug grave, due to have someone buried inside. Shortly after that, Mulder deduces that they were attempting to get two for the price of one. So basically they were burying someone underneath a plot that had just been already dug up because a body was going to be put in there the following morning, which is actually a pretty inventive way of getting rid of a body, to be perfectly honest. It's allegedly. But again, the fact that the security guard sees these guys, turns for a moment, and then when he looks back, they're gone. Again, that's another thing where on paper, is there a spiritual element? Are they ghosts? Are they actual ghosts? But again, why would spirits need to dig a hole? Why would they need to? It's that element that's constantly where you're looking at it and you think you're trying to make it like, are these ghosts, are they not? But then you're having them do things that ghosts just, would they really need to do that? I don't think so.
Ghosts aren't worried about being caught.
And exactly. Right, so
autopsy.
Yeah, Scully does the autopsy. We love a good Scully autopsy sequence. This is quite a disgusting one. She says she thinks the dead man had been selling his own body parts. Then a frog bursts from the body's chest, and I let out a little bit of vomit. It's got to be said.
I thought you were going to say pee.
No, vomit, definitely. I was a little bit sick in my mouth.
Yeah, a frog in your throat. This was this was a great sequence, Brian. I loved it because it's just that the pulsating of the wind. You're like, what is coming out here?
It's super disgusting. It's super disgusting, and of course it ties back to the dried frog that Scully found earlier. It was
kind of cribbed as well in is it Dexter season 1, where the snakes come out of the.
Never seen Dexter, so.
Okay.
I've no intention of watching it because all I heard from the fans was that the last season was absolutely terrible, and then the fans all got excited because Dexter was coming back for another season, which apparently was really good, and then the last episode was absolutely terrible. That's what I've heard from fans, which really doesn't make me want to watch it. So, right, okay. So Carpet Man wins the lotto.
Stage 1.
Yeah, stage 1. Wins stage 1. We're like, oh, you go, man. Save your daughter. But no, he loses. Scully and Mulder take the frog to Chow and imply that he's not helping them as much as he could, which is when he gives his little rant at them, saying that he may look Chinese and speak the language, but all the people of Chinatown see is a cop. Then he gives them the address of the carpet fitters that he found while he was twiddling his thumbs, as he puts it.
What a delivery, because it's just like, it's a big FU, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a nice scene, and it really endears me to this guy, to this character. And despite the fact that as the episode goes on, we learn he's not entirely kosher, you can also see that the choices he makes aren't necessarily because he's a bad man. It is that being torn between two different cultures, trying to uphold the law of the West whilst respecting the traditions of his people, which obviously would be hard for any person. But so,
with a little bit of hindsight, looking at this scene, I do wonder: was he helping Mulder and Scully, or was he helping secure his position as being a cop with them by giving them the information? Was he going to give them the information, or was he not?
Yeah,
I don't know. Just it's hindsight after the episode.
Yeah. So they get to Carpet Man's apartment. He has lost an eye during an accident.
Yep.
Says he doesn't know Johnny Lowe despite fitting his carpet, and his boss has told Scully that he must have done the job on the side as there is no work order, which begs the question: how the hell can they prove this man fitted the carpet?
Yep.
Right? I sat there watching this scene and I'm like, how did they find this man?
Mm-hmm.
There's no work order, which means this guy, if he did do the job, he did it off the books. This was a pro bono. There's no work order, there's no proof, there's no evidence trail. How did Chow get this guy's address? How did he find out that he was the one who fitted the carpet?
Unless he was complicit in some way.
Exactly, unless he was complicit, which is it's your dead giveaway right there. Like, I mean, but Scully says herself there was no work order. In other words, there was no proof. To which point she should be going, ding, Chow. Just exactly how did you find this guy again? Like, it makes no sense at all that they should be at this guy's door. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
Silly.
Anyway.
So Mulder finds a token. Hang on, have I gone on too far?
No,
no, there we go. Yeah, so Mulder finds a token and he drags Scully out. Chow talks to Carpetman and tells Mulder and Scully that he was just warning him about the fire trap hazard blocking his escape door, which is about as believable as him finding the Carpetman in the first place without a work order. So yeah, Mulder pulls the token, suggests that Carpetman is selling his organs and that they watch him. So
yeah, it's getting there. We're getting near the end.
Yeah, it's at this point. When he comes out and he says, "Oh yeah, I was just warning him about a fire trap." That's the point where I'm like, "No, you're in on it." Like up until this point, I was kind of like, he could be in on it, he might not be in it, but then he gives that speech, and I'm like, no, actually, I feel for this guy now. I don't think he is in on it. He's just caught, you know. And then as soon as, like, literally the next scene, he clearly lies about the whole fire trap thing. That's complete nonsense. And then right there, you're just like, no, you're in on it. You're definitely in on it. So, yeah. Okay. So Lucy Liu asks Carpetman, who is her dad, remember, what's happening. And he blames himself for what is happening to her, which is... It's a moderately touching scene. You know, if you're a father, you can kind of relate. But because these two characters aren't really mainstays, they're not anyone that we really know in the show, and we know that they won't be coming back after this episode. It's kind of like, move along.
I just assumed that if anything happened to the father, she'd probably be adopted by some guy named Charlie and trained to become an angel. I wasn't interested. The whole, like, there's nothing to the family. They just have these things, you know, like sick daughter, purpose to get her fixed, and it doesn't hit home.
Yeah, it's there as a storytelling device more than this really pulls my heartstrings. So yeah, Chow gets home and finds blood on his door and the three masked men inside. Do you think he's a goner at that point? Yeah. So did I. Did you feel a little bit bad at that point for him that he was going to die?
Yeah, I was going to miss the character.
Yeah, that's an achievement, I feel. You know, if you, the thing is, when you have a TV series that runs, you know, on, and you have your regulars, you know, if Skinner's in danger or something like that, you feel for them because you love those characters. When it's a character of the week in an episode, you know, isn't. I mean, we've just talked about it. The father and the daughter don't really care about them. Yeah. So the fact that I didn't want to see this guy die, I think that's an achievement. I think that's something that actually the episode has done something well there. You know, to see how far down the list on IMDb this episode is. There are actually some things that it does pretty well, and making me care about this guy is one of them.
I mean, technically, he's playing the douchebag sheriff role that we've seen all too often. Only he is actually a douchebag because he's, you know, with the bad guys, but you actually care about him. Yeah,
because he's got depth. That's the thing. The difference is he's got depth. Whenever we have a douchebag sheriff in one of these episodes, it's always, I want you out because of you're going to destroy tourism, and it's like, and that's it, and there's no more to it, and they're just a douchebag for the sake of being a douchebag. Whereas this guy, there's a cultural thing going on here. He's got some depth to his character, so it makes you care. Right, so Scully pulls Mulder from the stakeout to go to the hospital to see Chow, just as BD... See, so this is where I got confused, because I thought BD Wong was... Yes, was Big James Trouble in Little... Yes, James Tong is it, his name?
Hong.
Right, Hong. Right, either way, I'm going to call...
Lopan if you want.
Lopan. I was going to call him Chinese Cancer Man because, I'm sorry, this dude is Chinese Cancer Man. the way he acts in this, especially towards the last few scenes, the way he even smokes his cigarettes, he is William. He's the Chinese equivalent of William B. Davis in the Cancerman role. He's just got all of those vibes. He does it really well. He's got a snidey face that you just want to punch. So yeah, okay. So Scully pulls Mulder from the stakeout just as Chinese Cancerman shows up at Carpet Man's place. Mm-hmm. He says that Carpet Man owes him money and that the only way to repay it is to keep playing. But Chinese Cancerman says... but Carpet Man says he quits, and Wong, who isn't Wong... my own notes are confusing me because I thought he was BD Wong. Lopan says that he can't, and it's against the rules, and that the spirits will come for him. It's all a con. There's no X-File here, though, is there? Really?
No.
This is the thing. It's like the pathetic attempts to make these three masked men. Are they ghosts? Are they not? We both say, well, no, they're not. Clearly,
I think it goes to show that I didn't even consider that an aspect right from the opening show.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think these were ghosts.
But without that prospect, if that's not a card that is on the table, that these guys aren't ghosts, then there's no X-File, there's no supernatural element, there's no reason Mulder and Scully should be investigating this case, which is
unless Mulder's just profiling the fact that they're Chinese, and he's like, there's going to be some kind of mysticism. We're uncovering another layer that Mulder has, in
his racism, yeah.
There's never, I just never consider. I know you said that it's leaning towards supernatural, but as watching it, I never get any of that at all.
Neither do I. I'm not saying it's there. I'm saying that the problem with it is that I think that's what they were hoping for. Because when I sit down and I watch it and I'm I get to the end of it, I have to ask, what was it Mulder and Scully were investigating there? What was the supernatural element? And the only thing that could possibly come up is, were those three guys ghosts or weren't they? And we've both established that we think no, they weren't. In which case, there's no supernatural element. In which case, this isn't an X-File. In which case, this shouldn't have really been an episode of the X-Files. Maybe that's the reason it rates so lowly. I don't know. But so Mulder asks to see Chow's chart after he vanishes from the hospital. He has the same blood type as that which was found on the carpet. Was he the man that Lowe stabbed? So they go and speak with Lucy Liu. Scully finds a medical workup for her father where they measured up his organs. Mulder says they're playing some kind of game, 2 steps behind the audience. Yeah. That's literally, that was my thoughts on that scene. I'm like, yeah, you're 2 steps behind the audience. Would you just see? This is the issue for me. I've said that a few times, which shows there's a lot of issues actually in this episode. Despite that, I enjoyed this much more than I previously did. One of the biggest issues for me is that there's no mystery.
No, nothing.
Like we shouldn't have seen the game. So when Carpet Man went to that big hall and he put his token in and they shook it and he pulled it out and then somebody won but they didn't, they lost. We shouldn't have seen any of that. We shouldn't know what's going on. We shouldn't know what those tokens are. When Mulder pulled that token out, we shouldn't have seen the event because we already knew what it was. And it's like when Mulder here is giving out his spiel about what he thinks is going on, that's the point at which we, the audience, should be learning it as well. So that Mulder is a step ahead of us. Mulder is the one who's driving the investigation. Mulder and Scully are driving the investigation. But they're not. We're seeing events unfold and we're waiting for them to catch up.
Yep. Yep, with you 100%.
Yeah.
In fact, so much so that I'm dropping it a half star.
You do that sometimes when you start. The moment you start discussing it, it's like certain things. Like I wrote that down as a little note. You know, I just put 2 steps behind the audience. But then when I say it out loud, when I talk about that, when I think actually there's a few scenes in there that are absolutely perfunctory and that do harm to the episode because they take away the mystery, I'm like, yeah, I think I've got to drop half a star as well, to be honest, because it's just silly. It's really silly. Like a show like this hinges on the mystery. It's about 2 agents conducting an investigation, and if you, the audience, already know what's happening before our 2 agents know what's happening, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. They go to an organ transplant procurement centre and discover that a doctor keeps saying donors have left town after organs have been found for them. So they not in the least bit suspect. So they go to this doctor's place that doesn't look like a doctor's place, quite frankly. It looks like a Chinese restaurant, if I'm being perfectly honest. And even when they go in, it looks like a Chinese restaurant because they walk through a massive kitchen. And I'm like, how is this a doctor's place? It looks like a Chinese restaurant. So they go to the doctor's place and see Chow entering. And then they follow him in. Inside, Carpet Man wins once again. What's the chances? Wins the lotto once more before losing again, while Chow watches on. Mulder and Scully enter the building, find body parts in the freezer, while Chow tries to convince the game runners to let Carpet Man go. He pushes the table over, revealing that the game is fixed, and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, pretty much. And look here.
That's it now, you're done. Is that I'm out? Come on, just get to the end. Reel off the scenes and let's get out. Okay. I like to look for the positives, and again, like I say, I do think this episode is Chow's story. You know, this is something I've said before about standalone episodes, which is that you have to have Mulder and Scully invested and uncovering the mystery, not being 2 steps behind, this, that, and the other, and that can really make a standalone episode. And then there's the other kind where, like if you go way back to the episode Conduit from the first season, one that neither one of us really liked because we hated all the ties to Mulder's sister stuff that were hammered on the head. But that episode, one of the things it did have going for it is that it wasn't really Mulder and Scully's story. It was the mother's story. And if you can have a guest spot in the week, or again Aubrey, the episode Aubrey from season 2, which did it much better, which was when you had this woman who was kind of she had a serial killer embodying her through flashbacks. That was her story. And they made us invested in her character. She was the character of the week. We know she wasn't coming back in another episode, but you felt invested because of the work they put into her character. And again, recently with Oubliette, an episode from this season, they did the same thing. That was that character. So you can do it. You can take an episode each week, standalone episode, and you can focus on a character that we're never going to meet again. And it can be their story. And in this case, I feel like this is Chow's story. It's just unfortunate that everything around him is so badly handled. Now, I really like BD Wong in this. I like the character he plays. I like that he has something of a redemptive arc to his story, that, you know, he's the one who in the end turns over the tables, tells everyone it's a scam. That's a moment of redemption for him there. I like that. That's all good stuff. I have no problem with that. It's everything else around it that really drags this episode down. So the commotion that he causes alerts Mulder and Scully. And the doctor is beginning work on Carpet Man, but Chow bursts in and pops a cap in his ass. Well, their shoulder anyway. Yeah. Well, just Cancer Man's shoulder anyway. Chinese Cancer Man. Mulder and Scully burst in and arrest Chow. And then Chinese Cancer Man tells him he should have killed him, which Chow interprets as the game's not over. So he tells Mulder and Scully, yeah, the game's not over. So, yeah, like I say, all I can say about that is that I like the arc they give Chow. I like that he's the one who busts the operation, even though he was a part of it, essentially. He brings it to a close, or does he? That's the question. So there's an arc there for him, for a likeable character. That's the strength of the episode. Scully interviews Wong. Now, I do like this scene, I've got to say.
Yeah, this is good.
This is a really entertaining scene. And like I say, all I can see here is Cancer Man. It's just the way they play him is just Cancer Man. Maybe they couldn't get him that week, so they traded him out for Lopan. Scully interviews Lopan, who tries to justify his actions by claiming he gave men hope. It's an interesting scene. They say, you know, I've heard a lot of actors say that when they're playing a villain, the thing they need to try and do is they need to believe, like the best villains, the most effective villains are the ones who actually believe that what they're doing is right in some way.
I got from him that he was very just dispassionate. He just didn't care. It was, human life means pretty much nothing to him. It's
absolutely
parts out of him and forwards them on. It's basically just nothing to him. Doesn't care.
But the justification he makes though is something you could almost believe that he started telling himself long ago when he got into the business. And when he first told himself it, he told it to himself to help him do the heinous things he was doing. And then he's told himself that for so long that now it's just patter. It's just something that comes out. He doesn't even believe it. He doesn't care. He's just, like you say, he's got no care for human life. But that patter, it comes from somewhere. And I just think in this moment I see a fully formed character. And whether that's the actor, whether that's the way he's playing it, which I can believe because he's a good actor.
Yep.
There's a lot going on. That's how you tell a good actor, I think. You can put, there's many people you could put in this scene playing that role, and I don't think they'd quite get the nuance there. And I sense a history with this guy, a history of his criminal activity. People get into this kind of game quite young. They're not always evil. They fall into it through other means. They need money, whatever. Maybe that was something he told himself way back when to help him, but now it's just become patter, and he's just lost his soul, basically.
Yeah.
But I love the way he plays it. It's a great scene, and it does make you want to punch the living crap out of the guy. So Mulder pulls Scully out, saying that they can't build a case against the guy because everyone at the club has built a wall of silence. Meanwhile, Chow, whose testimony would fix that, has gone missing. And then our final shot is of Chow being cremated.
Yeah. I think I'm ready to go into my wrap up, actually, Brian.
Okay.
Thoughts. Watching this episode, it was fine. I was expecting something really, really bad. I never got that. It was just kind of perfunctory in going along.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of things we've spoke about that's really kind of struck a chord. The fact that it's not really a mysterious or supernatural case. Why the hell are Mulder and Scully there? They've not been sent there. There's nothing about Skinner sending them to work on it, so we don't have that. And we have a case that doesn't get solved at the end of this episode. Nothing's happened because they're just going to go back to continually doing it. The one character throughout the episode that we actually liked ends up getting roasted at the end of it, literally, which, you know, they could have gave him some other kind of out, as in running away and maybe tracking down another game as if he's going to try and stop it or something. But you don't. They just burn him. I kind of am having an adverse reaction to this episode, really. The more I talk
just through talking about
it. Just through talking about it. Now, I'd originally gave it 3 stars.
I was going to say, just before you give your score, I will say I understand where you're coming from on that last bit, but I do have a slightly different opinion on that, because like I once wrote a film in which it ends how it began, with nothing changing, and sometimes I feel like that's the point. And so I don't really have a problem with the ending to this. I actually think the ending's quite strong, because I think what it is what the whole point is that sometimes justice doesn't get done, because something is solved. Mulder and Scully have solved it in the sense they now know the truth. The question is, or the point is, sometimes the truth isn't enough. Sometimes these misdeeds they'll just carry on. It doesn't matter, because you know, you think about human trafficking, things like that. People know it happens. But it's going to go on, and it's just like, and sometimes justice just isn't done. And I feel in some respects it is a more truthful ending. It's bitter, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but that happens day in, day out in an unjust world. So from my perspective,
it's almost it's the death of Chow. I just feel
leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much. You know, I can take the guy like being all snide and horrible and dispassionate about everything. I can understand that, but just jumping to the death of Chow, I feel it's unnecessary.
Because you like the character so much.
Because I like the character, and because probably because I like the character, because I hoped for a redemption of that character, which he did get somewhat, but then, you know, I'd like to have seen some other outcome for him. Like I said, I was going to give it 3.5. I've knocked it down to 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Okay. This is a tricky one for me, I've got to say, because I've got it as a 3 out of 5 as well, and I think because, like when we did Teso dos Pichos, and I was adamant that this was going to be the worst episode of the season, and I just feel like there are a lot of strength to it, but yeah, I do think I need to. I think I need to drop it down to a 2.5 as well. To be honest, it's right in the middle, innit? It's neither good nor bad. It's just there, and it's like, and it's more frustrating because they do such a good job with this Chow character, and even the villain, you know. And I don't mind the ending, as I've just said. I actually think the ending's pretty solid. I think it's haunting. I think seeing Chow in those flames at the end is really like, oh. You know, if I saw that in a horror movie, that would be a great way to end a horror movie, as they often do, because it's just like it's like a kick in the nuts. And the simple fact of the matter is that, you know, in life, in the world, in an unjust world, evil often goes unpunished, and I feel like that's the point that's being made. So I don't have a problem with the ending. My main problems are there are other characters I don't care about. There are scenes that give all the mystery away, so we know everything before Mulder and Scully even get there. It almost feels like Mulder and Scully don't need to be here, to be honest. It's Chow's story. Chow could have done all of this without Mulder and Scully being there. And because of the lack of an actual supernatural element, it doesn't really feel like an X-Files. So it's difficult. There's a good episode in there somewhere. So yeah, 2.5 out of 5. It's a shame. I messaged you like a week ago, I think, and I said actually I think this is actually better than Tesso Dos Bichos, which has surprised me big time. I think it does better character work than Tesso Dos Bichos, I've got to say. Right. I think it does. I really think that there's more characters in this that are less expendable than what we got in Tesso Dos Bichos. It's just that I had more fun watching Tesso Dos Bichos. I didn't feel as depressed coming out of that one as I do with this one, because you've given us a good character and then killed him, and it's like, man, that was okay. Bring on Jose Chung. So yeah, 2.5 out of 5 for me. What more can you say?
Nothing. We're done with that one. Let's just move on. And talk about the next one, Jose Chung's From Outer Space, which is something I know we've been... I can't remember a thing about, but I know I've been looking forward to getting there. So on you go, Brian. Give us a little taster.
Well, the only two words you really need to know for that episode is Darren Morgan, which kind of tells you everything you need to know. I will say that of all of Darren Morgan's episodes, I think it is by far the craziest.
I love it. Yes,
it's totally off its tits. Is what I would say about it. So yeah, amazing. I
can't wait. Okay. That sounds like a 5 out of 5 already for me. Favourite episode of the season. Honestly, so excited about that episode. Okay. Hopefully, the people along listening or watching are going to watch it and comment with us as we talk about Jose Chung's From Outer Space. Really excited. So we'll see you next week on the X-Files Revisited. Have a good one.